Next on BYUSN, toppling Texas Tech. BYU football now 5-2 after beating the Red Raiders. So why is Kalani Satake less than thrilled after a 13-point win? And ESPN's Trevor Matich joins us for a loaded Matich Monday. How can BYU make things weird at Texas? Is it as simple as creating turnovers?
Plus, which one-handed snag is better, Darius Lassiter from Saturday or Chase Roberts from Arkansas? And we'll recap our weekend predictions with Big 12 Roundup and prop picks.
Welcome to BYU Sports Nation on another winning Monday, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. October 23rd, I am Spencer Linton. He is Fire Knives collector Jerem Jordan.
Okay, Cosmo showed us, yet again, something we had never seen, which is like what he does, right? I was explaining to Tate this morning, by the way, that he doesn't actually live up in the mountains near the Y. But on Saturday, rips off his shirt, which he's got, of course, he's got like an 8-pack, and then did fire dancing.
That.
So we all had this question, and we can tell you definitively that the same Cosmo that's been doing everything all year is the one that can wield fire. He already had the skill, okay? It is not a thing he just barely learned. He's known it, and that's unbelievable. Continuing to cement his place atop the greatest mascot in the history of mascots of this or any other planet that we know of in the universe.
Listen, Chris Evans, when he played in Fantastic Four, and he's the fire guy, right? Eat your heart out, man. You're not Cosmo.
Isn't that, like, for his brand to go from that to Captain America?
That's quite the difference.
He's got range, and that range was terrible character versus amazing character.
It's so fun. It's so fun to read the responses from just national college football watchers when they see
every time
what is happening at BYU between the third and fourth quarters.
Oh, it is a party. And, like, if you didn't know the BYU culture at all, you'd be like, what is this? What is going on? This is unbelievable. Why are there fire knives? Holy
who is
crap.
This mascot?
Yeah, what is this? He's ripping off his shirt?
Spinning a fire knife.
Hey, Meryl J. Bateman, eat your heart out. Let's go.
Oh,
love it.
My goodness.
That's funny.
That's an amazing job by our good friend David Almadova and his crew.
Yeah.
It's just an unbelievable effort to line all that up.
Fantastic.
And create another winning experience at night, Jerem. Another win at
More on that
night.
in a moment.
All rise and shout. Let's get to what's trending.
Bring LJ's got a first down and more. Slovis goes deep, and does Lassiter bring it in with one hand? He did! What a catch at the Texas Tech 40-yard liner inside Darius Lassiter.
What's trending, presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event. What a first half from BYU. Cougars hunt at night. BYU beats Texas Tech 27-14. The Cougars bested a Power 5 team by 2 scores, Jerem.
Yeah.
But there was
that.
There was this feeling at the end of the game where I was like, just needed to be more. Just needed to be more. And that's not for me. We'll hear from Kalani Satake in just a moment.
It's a lot of fans.
+5 in turnover margin. I already mentioned just an unbelievably entertaining first half. BYU's up 24-7, and we're all like, whoa, this game's over, baby.
Yeah.
And it was.
And it was.
So at this point, is it enough? Like, should we just be like, we should be okay with this, right? Like, BYU just beat Texas Tech by 13.
You'd think. I'm repressing the overwhelming urge to be just annoyed at how and what BYU is in getting to this, because mainly because, relying on takeaways is not sustainable. Well, wait, it's worked in 5 of 7. At Texas, at West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma State. I don't believe it will be the same sort of sustainability. Texas Tech is not the same as those teams. Playing third-string quarterbacks different than playing backups.
Making their first start on the road, no
less. Oh, by the
less.
way, Texas, Malik Murphy going to make his first start, we think, with Quinn Ewers of Texas out with a collarbone or a shoulder injury.
What the heck is this? 3 weeks in a row, backup quarterback?
3 weeks in a row. Okay, third string's different than second strings. Let's take notes in the BYU lexicon, okay?
Yep.
BYU's +5 in margin. That is awesome. BYU takes advantage of that. There is a terminal turnover in the end zone.
It was nice to lead 14-0, wasn't it?
It was jumping out and
to not be behind 14-0.
Little did we know the Red Raiders would not score more than that number that BYU had at that point. It was like, hey, this feels good. This is good. BYU at home, BYU at night-ish, like, really good team. Of course, we've talked about it. I am not going to be disappointed with that. Yet, the BYU offense in the second half, there was 4 3-and-outs in 5 drives, up 2 scores, trying to run clock, trying to obviously salt the game away at some point. Austin Collie said in the postgame show, BYU's got to be a little more risky on second down. Sure, we want BYU's offense to be better. We want the run game to get going, which, by the way, season high 150.
Let's go.
Aiden Robbins back from injured ribs, looked really good. LJ Martin's 55-yard run early was big time. That was all great. That was great. And maybe the BYU run game found a gear that if they were in first gear, they at least got to second gear, maybe third in this game. I'd love to see a 200 game here soon. Who knows if it's this week? Texas. Texas is good, man. But this run by LJ set the tone on the whole game, Spence. Because we talk about the run game. LJ's had a few explosive ones. Hey, get your hand out of the way. This was good. I am not on this Monday going to be disappointed about a 2-score win against a Power 5 team. And BYU 5-2. BYU is 5-2, Spence. I am not. I know the offense is not that good, but can't we take notes from that team up north, Spence? Have they won with gajillion yards of offense and amazing, crisp, efficient, whatever on that side of the ball? No, they just win games. They just win games, and BYU is doing that, and I am happy because of it.
All right, I'm going to give you my thoughts, but after you listen to Kalani Satake, I was very interested to hear his tone and what he said when I asked him to sum up how the game went and that, well, frankly, porous offense in the second half. Here's my conversation with Kalani Satake post-game at LaVell Edwards Stadium on Saturday night.
Kalani, there was some real urgency following a disappointing performance against TCU to get right. Coming home, playing a night game on homecoming always helps, but how would you rate your team's overall performance tonight off of that tough week?
I thought the energy was great, the effort was great, but being home was a big factor in that, and fans helped us out, the Rock, and so I'm happy to be here. But at home playing at LaVell Edwards Stadium, but I keep thinking about the mistakes that we made. I thought we played some really good football in the first half. Second half could have been better, but overall, just happy with the win. When you create 5 turnovers, you should get a bigger cushion than what we had. Made too much drama at the end of the game, So we'll keep working on that. But I think you have to give Texas Tech a lot of credit for hanging in there. It's not easy to deal with injuries. We've been there before, especially at the quarterback position. So I think Coach McGuire has done a great job getting his team ready. And we were fortunate to come up with a win. But I think overall there's a lot of still room for improvement. I'd like to see us make that step before we head out to Texas next week.
What was the biggest factor in getting the +5 in the turnover margin, specifically from your defense tonight?
Well, I thought we were disruptive and basically try to stop the run. I think they made some chunk yardage on some missed tackles and things like that, but none of it was like shooting ourselves in the foot and missed assignments. And so I think we're assignment sound, except for the one play where we had a deep cover guy and just let him behind him. Other than that, I keep thinking about the catch the interception, and then we don't have more score, and I just don't like that score up there, when they're only 2 scores away. But the guys were resilient. They played. I'm so proud of Aiden Robbins getting in there, making plays for us. So I'm just happy overall, but still room for improvement. We'll get there.
Hard to answer it in the moment, but what would you change about the second half and what went into that? And because you're frustrated with it slowing down a little bit.
Yeah. I think just put more points on the board and sustain the drives. I think we had opportunities to get first downs. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I wanted to see us improve on third downs on offense and defense. I don't know if we did that enough to my liking, So we'll keep working on that, and we're going to need to be much better at that, especially when we get to Austin next week.
Number one thing you're going to try and shore up this week as you head to Austin next week and take on a top 10 football team.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep playing behind in the numbers if we don't fix the third down defense and the third down offense converting. That's going to be the key. I was really proud of us taking care of the football, but other than that, we need to find ways to get the ball back to our offense and then for our offense to convert first downs. But overall, it was a good game. I'll take the win, and we can build on this.
Okay, to Kalani's point, a couple of notes from the second half. 15 pass yards in the second half. 15.
It was that few? I didn't even know.
15, right?
Yeah.
2 for 9 on third down in the second half.
Yeah.
And how many 3-and-outs? I think there were 4 3-and-outs.
I'll look at them.
Oh. So I understand why he's frustrated, because he just experienced this right after a really, really tough second half offensively, where there just was no explosive plays.
Yeah.
It was very unoriginal.
Yeah.
But is Aaron Roderick at that point saying, we have a big enough lead, we're just going to salt it away, we feel like we can run the ball well enough, the clock will be run down, or we believe in the defense, like, let's just milk it?
It was a little early to milk it, in my opinion.
I agree. I think
Way to use the ref as a screen right there, by the way. That was awesome.
There needs to be a little bit more. You got to take some chances in the third quarter. It just felt like BYU kind of started.
Explain the chances you're talking about, because BYU's winning by not taking a ton of chances on offense, right? By not giving it away and taking it away.
Okay,
BYU's
maybe
winning games. Are you just saying pass the ball?
Maybe not a run on 2nd and 11.
Like a predictable 2 or 3 yard run.
Yes.
You could also be more effective in the run game, but we're 7 in. Like, it is what it is. Although, did Aiden Robbins discover something?
Perhaps.
He's a different kind of back.
I would like to see. It doesn't have to be a throw deep down the field. I'm not talking about like taking super crazy risks. But think about what.
More aggressive than a 2 or 3 yard run.
Yes. Okay. What Keaton Slovis is. What is Keaton Slovis? What are his strengths? He's a pocket passer.
Yeah.
He's got a huge arm. He spins it beautifully. And his intermediate passing game is probably his greatest strength. So I guess I'm suggesting maybe rely on that a little bit more, or trust it a little bit more, rather than settling for, on 2nd and 11 or 2nd and 13, just a predictable inside handoff where BYU gets 2 to maybe 3 yards, and now you're in 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 again, and you're not going to do anything there because you don't want to turn it over. Right. So you're going to run it again, and then you're going to punt it away.
BYU's average third down distance 7.4.
That's
so
not
was Texas
great.
Tech, by the way.
And those are the numbers that Kalani's talking about. We can't continue to live behind those numbers where you're not converting third downs and you're in 3rd and long constantly.
Yeah.
There just needs to be something different. And I feel like Keaton Slovis' greatest strength is the intermediate passing game. That's what he does. That's who he is. Are they just so scared of making a mistake in the second half to try and get momentum back to the opponent that they're just like, you know what, we're good. We've got a 17-point lead, we're good.
With that defense, I don't know, like, they would never use the word scared, but, like, right? But I see what you're saying. But, like, trust your defense to the point where it's like, okay, if we don't,
cautious is the
word.
We
have one of the best punchers in the country, which, by the way, Austin McNamara was fantastic as well.
Yes.
Parents went to BYU, LDS kid, I assume. Remember the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Dude's got a huge leg, too.
Yes. That was kind of fun to watch the punts, right? By the way, BYU has a 3rd takeaway on a punt this year. How about that? 5 takeaways, 4 from the defense. Ryan Rico himself recovered a punt. Tyler Batty, I think, played his best game as a Cougar on Saturday. And because he did, he got spat in the face twice. What is that? Who's spitting in people's faces in 2023?
Come on, man.
That was weird, man.
One of them was ejected.
Yeah.
Tyler Batty also created, and I said this to him late on Saturday night, he's helped create one of my favorite stats in BYU football history for a season. He created a scenario where now BYU's long snapper and punter have both recovered fumbles on a punt.
That's so weird. And I love it. Like, again, the sort of business model or formula or equation of how BYU has won a game historically, that is not the same way now. Understand this, and you will enjoy this season more. Also, I am operating from the idea that BYU will probably be 6-6 when the season is over, maybe 7-5. So to be 5-2 is enjoyable.
Sure.
Because there's going to be some L's here in the back 5. Playing at Texas is a tough game regardless of who the quarterback is. So enjoy 5-2. Because BYU's won 5 of the first 7 games. Like, BYU could be 6-1, 7-0. No, BYU's not good enough to be 6-1 or 7-0 in my opinion. But somehow they are good enough to be 5-2. So I'm enjoying that. Yeah. Looking at the end of the season being like, probably a 6-7 win team feels like. If the ball doesn't bounce BYU's way, that's a 5-7 team probably at the end. But they have created ways to win, which is what you need to do. The way that BYU wins football games has changed, not only because the offense hasn't been good, but because of what league BYU's in. Sure. This is new. We have to think in new ways about what BYU's doing.
BYU, when the season began, like we go all the way back to April, May, like even before the season began, the initial line came out and had BYU's over-under at 4.5 wins.
Yeah, and we were like, ah.
They've surpassed that through 7 games.
How about that? Ethan Slade pointed that out in the postgame.
BYU's way ahead of schedule. Granted, the remaining 5 are all tough games. So how many more wins are in there? We'll see. But for the moment, we're 7 games in. We should believe BYU because they've shown us what they are right now.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't expect all of a sudden
it's not going to drastically
unbelievably explosive offense, and it's just not going to be that way.
No.
But we do know that BYU is disciplined. They take care of the ball, and they create a lot of turnovers. So let's believe those things. And frankly, you can control how disciplined you are in many ways.
I would hope that this group would be one of the most disciplined teams in the country.
You're not going to be penalized a lot.
The people that play for BYU typically.
Let's believe who they are, which is they are disciplined. They don't have a lot of penalties. They create
38
turnovers.
yards a game.
And they take care of the ball. Granted, they're also the offense that is putting up about 300 yards of total offense per game, which is not great. But they have been opportunistic in those yards and found ways to create points, especially after they create turnovers. So let's believe who they are. And sometimes it doesn't work well, a la TCU. And sometimes it works out very well, like BYU did against Arkansas and Texas Tech. So, hey, is the model sustainable every game? No. But who they are should grant BYU at least 1 to 2 more wins out there.
Yeah. By the way, to your 3-and-out thing, there were 5 drives of 4 or fewer plays.
I thought there were 4, 5.
So it was 4 3-and-outs, but there was a 4-play, 22-yard drive in the third. So there you go.
Okay. Not
I think
great.
That was a penalty, maybe.
Not great. 15 passing yards in the second half. Yeah. Just a little bit more. Just want to see a little bit more there.
For sure. I'm not saying the offense can't get better. It needs to be better, but I don't know how much better it's going to be. 7 games in, man.
Mailbag Monday always brings with it some nice questions that are presented by you.
Let's get real.
Some loaded questions.
Let's talk about the real issues.
Okay. At Twiggy or Stone on X says, what do you think is holding back the passing game from taking the next step?
Aaron Roderick knows more than I do, but I'm interested to hear his comments in Coordinator's Corner coming up in this very studio in like an hour and 43 minutes. But it is getting the ball up maybe on time. They're probably BYU's blocked pretty well this year. Like, in spite of the O-line struggling in the run game, they've actually done a nice job in the pass game. Perhaps it's get the ball out more. Maybe the receivers need to get a little more separation. But I think in this game, BYU getting an early lead affected how Aaron called the game.
For sure.
And so that's certainly affected them.
Well, and they ran the ball better than they have all year, which also impacts how he's going to call the game in the second half.
When you run 55 yards early, you go, now, wait a minute. Is that going to be
there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe it's just getting more comfortable and getting some guys back healthy. I don't know. I feel like there has been a pass catcher or two that have not been healthy all season, whether it's Cody Epps and Keanu Hill. So sadly could not play in that Texas Tech game with his dad, the Red Raiders alum, watching on. But I don't know.
Shout out to Lloyd, who was on the pregame.
Maybe when he's dealing with a full bag of weapons and tools and Aiden Robbins is back. I
can't wait for that. Can't wait. No, can't wait for that. To me, you just got to go with who you got. And the BYU receivers are good. I really like them. And that's in spite of Cody Epps not getting a ton of run and Keanu Hill being out. And it's like, no, Roberts and Lassiter can carry you. Isaac Rex clearly is not the same dude he was pre-21 injury, by the way. He's not getting the rock and he's not as fast and
intermediate passing game.
He's
Give
still a
me
good
more
player,
Keaton Slovis intermediate passes. Then I think you can take a step forward.
Yeah.
Aaron Morgan on X. Who will get more rushing yards the rest of the season, Robbins or LJ Martin?
Ooh, good question. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Robbins. Or more. To me, it doesn't really matter, but I think we're going to have a little 1-2 punch here.
They're just different style of runners,
right? You got to have 2. I love it.
So it could be very, very down the middle at this point. I don't know. It might be a few yards to separate the 2.
How often do you get a midseason reinforcement like that? Like that good? I'm excited about Aiden Robbins. He might win BYU game that we didn't see coming because BYU has a run game with him there.
Hey, he had a huge third down conversion on 3rd and long late in the game against Texas Tech.
13 on 3rd and 13.
Yeah.
And that won the game, basically. It salted the game away. Yeah.
Hashtag BYUSN on X, Facebook, and Instagram. Send in more of your Monday mailbag questions.
Aaron Roderick the other day said, man, it sucks to talk to the media when the offense, it stinks when the offense isn't playing well. Well, they didn't play well, but he's still going to talk because Aaron's open and honest about that. Let's hear from him and Jay Hill coming up on Coordinator's Corner, 2 Eastern on BYUtv. Aaron always tells it how it is, so let's see how it goes.
Up next, ESPN's Trevor Matich chimes in on the Cougars' win over Texas Tech.
Oh, what a hit.
How's he feeling about BYU after Saturday's game and the 5-2 start? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
You see it? Can you feel it? It's the BYU Sports Nation game day on BYUtv. First, catch the pregame with cool hosts, great guests, and a look into the heart of BYU football. Then, it's game time. Great matchups, great moments, and back to BYUtv for the postgame. Break it down, gather takes, learn from mistakes. The BYU Sports Nation game day on BYUtv. Tune in, join in.
Well, if you've ever been to a BYU game, you get a show beyond the football game. And a deflected ball, a picked up ball, Eddie Hecker on the interception. Broken up, and the Cougars take over on downs.
That Cougar defense felt like Hulk meets Cosmo. +5 in the turnover margin on Saturday night. We are live in Studio B with your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play. I'm Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. It's a Monday, and that means it's a Matich Monday. Halfway, a little bit more through the college football season, we welcome ESPN college football insider Trevor Matich and a national champion back onto the program. Trevor, very, very interesting, strange game again for BYU. The Cougars at night win again. They're 5-2. What did you make of the overall game as you look at BYU, who is now 5-2 on the season?
What a fantastic win. I mean, the team was opportunistic on all three phases, offense, defense, special teams. They kept fighting. There were all kinds of opportunities for Texas Tech to come back, and BYU wouldn't let them up off the mat, and they got them on the mat because they jumped out to an early lead. BYU's up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. They're up 24-7 at halftime, and they just kept the pedal to the metal and kept on rolling at full speed. And I thought it was a joy to watch, and it was incredibly entertaining.
Now, there are those who didn't feel like it was a joy to watch the offense, especially in the second half. And the way that BYU is winning is not what people want. But how picky do we want to be in the first year of the Big 12 as BYU is 5-2? Certainly, we're afraid that that's not sustainable. Being +5 obviously is amazing. You're going to win like 99% of those games. So how are you feeling about the way BYU is playing, yet is 5-2?
The way they're playing is the way they have to play. And this is where, do you judge them based on what you wish they were, or do you judge them based on what they're doing with what they have? And what they're doing with what they have right now is being very opportunistic. I mean, you mentioned the +5 in the turnover margin, right? That's not going to be every week for sure. But overall, over the course of the season, BYU is one of the top defenses in the nation in takeaways and one of the top offenses in the nation at fewest giveaways. And that's kind of weird because BYU is so heavily dependent on the pass. Normally you'd have more turnovers on offense in that kind of a situation, but they're doing a really good job on both sides of the ball at making the turnover battle go in their favor. And I think you can look at 2 of those 5 turnovers in this game. One of them was the fumble that was recovered in the end zone. Okay, so you got freshman quarterback for Texas Tech. They muff the quarterback running back exchange deep in their own territory. Okay, ball's on the ground, running back's right there, quarterback's right there, but guess who else was right there? Max Tooley was right there. He was aggressive, he attacked, so when an opportunity presented itself, he was in position. Now, he didn't recover it, but because he was there, that ball ended up squirting into the end zone, and seemed like half the planet wearing blue was over there trying to recover it for that touchdown. That's because of how aggressive BYU is on defense. We always talk about how more games are lost than they are won. Teams will make a mistake, but for that to work out, you've got to be in position to capitalize on the opponent's mistake. Then you look at the other that I just want to reference right now. It's an interception, and I think it was Eddie Heckard, but what happened was it was a slant coming from the offensive left side. And if that ball had been completed, it would have been a big catch and run because the coverage wasn't that good on that side. But here comes Crew Wakely. He lines up on the offensive right. And when the guy he's covering blocks, he reads the quarterback's eyes and moves over to the left side of the offensive formation and gets into the passing lane. He tipped it in the air, and then it was picked off. That's the kind of thing that is opportunistic, where you're not just sitting around waiting for a turnover to fall into your lap. You're doing things that create turnovers, and you are there when the other side makes a mistake to capitalize on it. So this is, these are things that they're doing. And so when you look at the stats overall, there's a lot of reasons to be unhappy. But when you look at what they've got, when we talk defense now, they're very active. They're very aggressive. And when the opportunity arises, they take advantage of it. They're one of the best in the country at that.
And to your point, Trevor, Tyler Batty lays just an absolute bombardment of a hit to force a fumble on a punt return. BYU jumps on that. That's another turnover. But again, people are focused on the 277 total yards of offense, albeit BYU did have their best rushing output of the season against Texas Tech. So how do you measure what BYU's offense did because the defense was so good and the rushing game took another uptick?
The offense didn't turn it over, did they? And they didn't commit a lot of penalties. That's another big part of it. And the offense is kind of what it is right now. I mean, this is not a great rushing offense. We've discussed that at length. The passing attack has had to make up for that. And fortunately, you've got a quarterback that if there is a Heisman for leadership, then Keaton Slovis would be in New York as a finalist. He has just been stellar as a steadying force and maximizing what is available to accomplish with this offense. And having said that, with the combination quarterback and receivers, but especially receivers and some other things, there's opportunity to get even better in that phase of the game. You mentioned the running attack. Okay, so they're over 150 yards. That's great. If you take away the 55-yard run by LJ Martin in the first quarter, then I know that counts towards the averages, but the reason it's important to take away a big, long run is because it tells you more about the other bunch of carries that they had. And so, and that's important because what you don't want is to lose sight of the fact that the running game is supposed to keep you even with the chains. If you take that away, they still ran the ball pretty well. It wasn't incredible, but it was steady. There were too many plays that were 0 to negative yardage, but there were plenty that were 3, 4, 5, 6 yards, right? And so you could see progress in the running attack, and that's good. Right now, they need to keep getting better. They can't abandon the run. They actually handed it off more times than they threw it in this game. And having two big backs instead of one, this is with the return of Aiden Robbins, having two big backs instead of one gives them more options in terms of being able to rotate fresh guys through and just pound, 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 pound. And so we'll see how the running game improves. For now, though, this is still an offense that relies on the passing attack.
Certainly a healthy Aiden Robbins helped. It was pretty predictable when he was in that BYU is going to run. Still scratched out 3.1 yards per carry, which around here is pretty good given how it's gone so far. But BYU has relied on takeaways. There's a certain amount of luck, certain amount of skill associated with that. We could argue all day about that. But how sustainable is that in the last 5 games for BYU to scratch out not just one win to get to a bowl game, but perhaps a couple more?
Well, it's kind of scary, right? Because sometimes when you're so good at getting takeaways, sometimes you'll get none, sometimes you'll get 5. And so it just depends on the game. A lot of it also has to do with opposing offenses looking at that and saying, look, this is what they're doing to get those takeaways, and we need to make sure we don't put the defense in position to be able to do what they do best. And we need to protect the ball more. And I think this upcoming game against Texas will be very run heavy for the Longhorns, and partly because of that, partly because they'll be starting a freshman quarterback as well. So, is it sustainable? I don't think it's fair to judge the defense on whether or not it's sustainable. I can just say this: they're 4th in the country at number of takeaways so far, and they're 7 games in.
Trevor Matich of ESPN is with us on BYU Sports Nation. Now the Cougars turn their attention to the mighty Texas Longhorns in Austin Saturday afternoon. So much for that limited spotlight. It's national television at 3:30 Eastern, 1:30 Mountain. But Texas is without the services of their very, very talented quarterback, Quinn Ewers. We learned he's going to be out for a few weeks with a shoulder injury. So, Trevor, how do you approach this game if you're in that BYU locker room and you know you're going against another backup quarterback? This will make 3 weeks in a row. How do you approach this specific scenario?
You have to attack. You have to attack, because you can't just sit back and hope that they, make the mistakes to give you the game. They're not going to do that. But if you attack, you can force mistakes, which is what happened against Texas Tech. Now, Malik Murphy is the freshman quarterback that'll probably be starting in this game. He's physically a lot like Arkansas's KJ Jefferson. He's 6'5", about 240 pounds, really strong runner, very inexperienced as a passer. And BYU can show him a lot of looks and hopefully give him opportunities to get confused. We'll see how that works out. From a standpoint of the BYU defense, the pass catchers for Texas are among the best in the country as a group. They've got a great group of wide receivers. Their tight end Sanders is one of the best deep threats as a tight end receiver in the country. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for Texas to be able to get some big plays if the young quarterback is able to pull things together from the passing attack. So if I'm BYU's defense, I'm assuming that they're just going to hand off, because they're great at running back. I mean, they're great. Jonathan Brooks is one of the best running backs in the Big 12. C.J. Baxter is a former 5-star recruit. He's a freshman. But you rotate those guys through, and that's a 1-2 punch behind one of the best offensive lines, really one of the better offensive lines in the country. The first priority for BYU's defense is going to be get up there and limit the run so that the young quarterback has to start throwing the ball. That's important. But remember also how BYU is winning. They're winning by playing more cleanly than the opponent. This is a feature of their wins. And one of those aspects is when they get into scoring position, they score. They're one of the best in the country offensively at getting points in the red zone. And the other thing is, when you talk about losing games, BYU has been very good at limiting penalties. Against Texas Tech, they had half the penalties. It was 9 for the Red Raiders. It was 4 for the Cougars, and about 1/3 the penalty yards, less than 1/3 that the opponent had. That's another thing they'll need to do. BYU needs to simultaneously attack and then play more cleanly than Texas does from a standpoint of mistakes. That will put them in a position to have a chance to win. Now, I still think they'll need some help from Texas. But at the same time, BYU's formula for winning puts them in position to be able to be in the game and have a chance.
They keep it clean, 14th in the country and fewest penalty yards per game. 5 games left. Certainly Iowa State at home looks like the most winnable game for BYU, with at Texas, at West Virginia, Iowa State, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma State. What's the second most winnable game, in your opinion, if it's not Iowa State being first?
It's at Oklahoma State is an interesting one because Oklahoma State early in the season was a hot mess. I mean, they just were a mess. You never knew what was going to happen. They were rotating 3 different quarterbacks. They weren't consistent at all. They lost some games they should never have lost in ways that they should never have lost them. Then they settled in the last few weeks on one quarterback, and they've been a completely different team. So, which Oklahoma State is it going to be? And how strong is that Cowboys team going to be, and how focused on BYU are they going to be? So that may be the second best likelihood, but you never know. BYU has beaten Texas. BYU has beaten Oklahoma with a Heisman candidate and with a strong team, nationally ranked, highly ranked team in the past. BYU has risen up and beaten teams they're not supposed to beat. And so their mindset is we're going to win every single one of these games. But from a standpoint of the fans on the outside in, I think that's where you would probably pencil it in. But you never know. This is a team that could rise up and surprise you.
Hey, give me all of the rest of the games at night. Hey, just give me the night games, Trevor.
Right.
It's a different deal, man.
Or at least at night, and make sure to put bacon on the cougar tails, because there seems to be some sort of magic when those two things come together.
We have one of those with your name on it as soon as you get back to Provo. Mark my word.
I will be there.
Great to talk to you, Trevor. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Trev.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, those are delicious, by the way.
Oh yeah, really good.
Those are delicious.
Like, normally I wouldn't want bacon on it, but like I'll eat bacon with syrup kind of sliding in across the plate.
Yes.
For my, waffle or pancake. Why not?
I didn't think I would like it the first time I tried it.
Yeah.
But the mixture of the salt and the bacon with all that sweet frosting and the donut it's remarkably delicious.
It's beautiful. It's like BYU's defense was on Saturday. It was awesome. After further review, we'll break it down like a bacon-filled maple donut cougar tail.
Yeah.
Tackle Tech. That's the theme. Tomorrow night, 7 Eastern on BYUTV's app.
All right, we're asking the question because it's a thing. A couple of all-time catches this season from BYU. Which is better, Darius Lassiter's or Chase Roberts for the touchdown at Arkansas? We'll make our call after the break. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Hit the road with the all-new and all-electric Nissan Ariya SUV. Equipped with ProPilot Assist 2.0 that guides you through lane changes and helps you maintain distance between cars. 360-degree traffic monitoring and freeway mapping keeps you centered for smooth and precise driving. ProPilot Assist takes some of the stress out of your commute so you can enjoy the ride. Available at Tim Daly Nissan Southtown and South Jordan.
Utah is a special place. Our communities, the people, the history. There is no place quite like Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're honored to say that we are from Utah. We live here, work here, and when someone is injured, we're proud to say we've helped a neighbor when they've needed it most. We know Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're here for you.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Everyone loves going to the dentist, right? When was the last time you had your teeth cleaned? Heart disease, Alzheimer's, stroke, dementia, and other inflammatory health conditions can be linked to periodontitis, a severe stage of gum disease. To help fight against gum disease, have your teeth cleaned regularly by a dentist or hygienist. To review the science behind these findings, go to visityourdentist.org. Dental cleanings are essential for your health. This message is brought to you by the eAssist Dental Health Education Foundation.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
Welcome back to Studio B on a winning Monday. I am Spencer Linton alongside Jerem Jordan. How about some Monday headlines?
BYU football beats Texas Tech 27-14. The Cougars forced 5 turnovers, rushed for a season-high 150 yards, but the highlight of the night was this spectacular catch from Darius Lassiter.
Slovis goes deep, and does Lassiter bring it in with one hand? He did! What a catch at the Texas Tech 40-yard liner inside. Darius Lassiter goes up and hauls it in with one hand on the sideline.
Unbelievable. Up next for BYU, trip to Austin to play number 7 Texas on ABC, who will likely be without quarterback Quinn Ewers, as ESPN's Pete Thamel reported yesterday that Ewers will miss some time with a shoulder injury.
Cinco turnovers does not stinko, Jerem.
Thank you, Anchor Boy.
On the Cougars in the NFL. How about Puka Nacua? There are 2 receivers in NFL history that have at least 700 yards in their first 7 games. It's Jamar Chase and Puka Nacua.
Amazing.
8 catches, 154. The Rams lose to the Steelers, but still. Puka up to 752 yards on the season. Amazing start for him. Tyler Algier rushed for 59 yards, added 3 catches for 53 yards for the Falcons in a 16-13 win over Tampa Bay. Michael Davis had 4 tackles, including a tackle for loss for the Chargers in a 31-17 loss to Andy Reid's Chiefs. Kyle Van Noy, 5 tackles, 2 sacks for the Baltimore Ravens in a dismantling of the Detroit Lions, 38-6. Tonight, Fred Warner and the 49ers take on Jaron Hall, Kyrus Tonga, and the Vikings in Minnesota.
Puka had 805 yards last year, so he'll pass that this week. Number 9, BYU women's volleyball sweeps Iowa State Friday night in one of the best overall performances of the season. Cougars led by Aaron Livingston, Whitney McHugh and Larinus, Elise Stoll, who all had double-digit kills. BYU 18-3 now, 7-2 in Big 12 play, 10-0 at home. Up next, a trip to Manhattan to play Kansas State twice this week. And in the Volleyball Magazine Super 16 poll, BYU number 9.
Hey, run the table. Maybe you're a top 8 team when the seeding comes out.
Could be a 2 seed, absolutely.
Let's go. 7th-ranked BYU women's soccer chasing a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. They host UCF tonight in their regular season finale, 8 Eastern on Big 12 now on ESPN+. BYU trailing Texas Tech by 2 points in the Big 12 standings. So that means BYU needs to beat UCF and the Red Raiders
loss or draw.
To draw or lose at Iowa State tonight.
All the Big 12 games, same time. So, same time.
Drama.
Really fun.
World Cup-esque.
James Taft-Fredette helped lead Team USA's 3-on-3 team to the semifinals of the Pan American Games. Semifinal and final will be played later this afternoon. Good luck.
Red Owen, TJ Wells, and Brian Chen of BYU men's tennis combined for 4 wins at the General Patton Invite hosted by Boise State over the weekend.
And the doubles team of Jackie Dunyan and Bobo Huang of BYU women's tennis qualified for the ITA Fall Championships, which will be held in beautiful San Diego.
They're good. We got them in studio. We talked to them when they made their run last year.
They're fantastic.
Those are today's headlines. Now let's whip it. The Cougar Whip Around presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner. Let's share some opinions, shall we?
Hardest hitting question of the day, Spencer.
All right.
Which one-handed catch was better, Darius Lassiter or Chase Roberts?
Oh, man. I'm going to lean on just how much difficulty there was involved here, and I'm going to go with Darius Lassiter because he had to reach more above his head and across his body, and just the way that his body was moving, it's harder to make that catch because he's moving to the right and he had to reach back and grab the ball, whereas Chase could just kind of react and do this.
Yeah, that one was pretty easy, right?
It was not.
I'm just kidding.
It was unbelievable. It was for a touchdown. That's why it's hard, and I go back and forth, but the difficulty level of Darius's catch seems a little bit higher.
Catch is better by Darius. Context is better with Chase Roberts. So pick what matters to you
like
the
the touchdown or the difficulty?
I'll go recency bias, Darius. Both unbelievable catches, 2 of the top 100 plays in BYU history.
Amazing.
We've never seen catches at BYU like those. Amazing stuff.
Aiden Robbins played in his first game since September 9th, and frankly, first game that he's actually been, healthy in, even including the games he already played in. He talked about what it was like to play in front of BYU fans. Listen to this.
It's crazy. It's truly crazy. I played in some big stadiums, but I ain't never played in a stadium like this with these type of fans. Like, there's a difference between just having people fill up seats, and having people fill up the seats and they making noise, you know what I mean? People that's into the game. Everybody out there sober, too, so I love it. They just out there yelling.
Truer words have never been spoken about BYU crowd.
I played at Louisville and UNLV. And now BYU, yeah.
Frankly, BYU is one of the few spots where that's going to be the case.
What do you expect from him the rest of the season in front of sober fans or not?
Yeah, this weekend will not be the case with that particular fact. But no, I expect him to have a massive impact on the run game. Hoping he can be a 4 yards a carry guy and win BYU a game that we don't see coming because Aiden Robbins is back.
I expect 300 rushing yards from Aiden Robbins
in the last 5.
In the last 5 games.
That's cool.